Hello, my name is Michael Novakhov. I am State Assembly member, New York State Assembly member, representing the 45th Assembly District, which includes Brighton Beach, Manhattan Beach, Sheepshead Bay, Midwood, and Gravesend.
Looking ahead, what do you see as the next steps in your political journey?
My future really depends on the election on November 5th because I'm running for re-election. I represent a Republican Party and Conservative Party. I have been endorsed by Brooklyn Republican Party and Brooklyn Conservative Party, and I hope to continue working for the people of the 45th District. It's roughly it's a bit over 130,000 people that I represent, and I think my office is doing an amazing job assisting so many constituents. We've closed over 1,500 constituent cases for the last 20 months. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of help. So, this is what I hope to do. This is what I hope to continue doing.
What has already been done to repair the wooden boardwalk in Brighton Beach? What are the future plans for its improvement and maintenance?
So, it's a big headache and a big problem and a big shame. The part of if you paid attention to the other part of the boardwalk where you see the concrete, this is what has been done as a part of the renovation of the boardwalk. And by the way, it was done by my colleague and good friend Alec Krasny when he was in the New York State Assembly years ago. Unfortunately, there's no agreement on how the boardwalk should be renovated because there are, let's say, a lot of people in the in the district that believe that it should be only done with natural wood. However, natural wood is the use of natural wood for the boardwalk is banned, is prohibited, especially tropical wood. So we will need to replace it with plastic. It's like a mixture of wood and plastic, like artificial wood, I would say. And many people are against it. So first of all, we have to come to an agreement if we can use artificial plastic wood to repair the boardwalk. In my opinion, this is the only way to do it. If you've been to Jersey Shore boardwalk, they did it, and it looks beautiful. It looks amazing. So, first of all, we have to come to an agreement. How do we repair? Second, we need to find money to repair it. That's another, that's a different problem, a different issue. But again, you're asking the question to me. I represent the state, and this is basically a city issue because boardwalk, who's responsible for boardwalk is the New York City Department of Parks, and this is a city department, not state. So I can give you more information about it that I already gave. But first of all, should be willingness. We need to decide on if we are okay with replacing natural wood with artificial wood.
How can the residents of our district influence the issue raised in Albany? Are there any online resources or platform available where they can access information and express their opinions?
Well, thank you for the question. Well, first of all, each assembly member and the member of New York State Senate has an email. I receive hundreds of emails every day with constituents in my district and outside of my district asking to, sharing ideas, asking to support the bill or to vote against, certain legislation. So it's always a good idea to contact your assembly member or member of the Senate through email. You can call the office. All this information is available online. Just go to nyassembly.gov and it's all available. It's all there. You can search legislation. You can search bills. You can share your ideas. And I'm always thankful to my constituents who share their ideas of the legislation, because good legislation comes from people. It comes from the constituents. It comes from real life. So please share your ideas, and I would love to hear from you. My personal email is novakhov@nyassembly.gov. You're more than welcome to email me your legislation ideas.
Official data shows that the highest temperature in the U.S. was recorded in 1913. Despite this, why are budgets still being allocated to combat global warming? How can New York residents initiate an investigation into the spending of public resources on this issue if the scale of the problem is not supported by the data?
So, first of all, I totally agree with you. I think, let's put it this way. For how many years have been the temperature measured on planet Earth? A bit over 100 years. So we don't see the real picture. We don't know how many cycles the nature has. And I think the climate's probably, we do have, the climate does changes. But does it changes due to what we do? Does it changes due to, human behavior? Or it will change anyway? We don't know. We have no idea. So we still need to research. We still need to continue researching the climate change. And I think we need to spend money on researching the climate change. So my colleague from New York State Assembly proposed a legislation to punish those big companies in New York State, demanding them to pay, I think, over $3 billion for the damage they did to New York State, to the environment, without any proof that they actually did any damage to the environment. And I think that's a absolutely wrongdoing. That's a wrong path. You can't just take money from the companies assuming that they did some damage to the environment. This reminds me, time of the Russian Revolution, where they took a little bit of money from the businesses, from the companies, corporations, then a little bit more of money because communists needed money. And then they just expropriated the companies. They just took those businesses and nationalized them. So we don't want this to be the path. We don't want, we all came to this country because this is a capitalist country with rights for everyone. And we don't want this country to be a socialist country one day. And sometimes this is, unfortunately, this is the the path that I see. This is the path many of my colleagues wish we can go. So I'm standing here to protect us from that.
Recent surveys show that many high school and university in New York are not familiar with the basics of the U.S. Constitution. What steps can be taken to improve the teaching of the Constitution and U.S. history in our schools? What are you willing to do to address this issue?
That's a very new issue to me. I didn't know this issue exists, honestly. So I don't have an answer just yet to what to do with that. And I believe that in any country, I mean, if you ask the school students what they know about the Constitution, I don't think they know anything about the Constitution. So it kind of not it's not surprising me. But it's an interesting issue, and I think we should deliver this information to to school students. We should think of how to make this information more exciting, more interesting, and talking about the history. It's interesting. It's interesting the angle of the topic that we're teaching our kids. For example, you might heard about it that one of the schools showed kids a map of the world without Israel on it, and it was like a part of a geography or history lesson. This is something absolutely unacceptable. But again, we all know that countries like Qatar donate a lot of money to American schools and universities. We shouldn't exchange this money for false history or false knowledge or fake, world map. I think that's absolutely unacceptable. I think we can budget our schools ourselves without the help of other countries, because they always demand something in return. I don't think that.
How do you assess the current state of the election oversight system in New York? Does it require reform?
I think it would be great to have more transparency to oversee the election process, definitely. So it's a lack of transparency. There's so many, details that we don't know about. We have no idea how the system works from the inside. So I would like it to be like covered with glass, so we can see the mechanism inside, the engine inside, and see all the problems and the issues. But overall, comparing to many other countries, or say Russia, where I came from, I think it's not the worst system in the world. But any system needs some maintenance, some oil, so it could continue, so the mechanisms continue working. So I think the answer is more transparency.
In light of the discussions about extending voting to multiple days, what is your position on returning to single-day voting? How do you plan to protect voters' rights in this context?
The problem is with one-day voting. The problem is that there's so many people cannot vote because they're not in town, they got sick, and many they're busy at work. There are many other reasons. So there are a lot of benefits of early voting. However, as you mentioned, there are issues as well, and we shouldn't put it this way that we cannot control it. We should control it. So early voting is good, but we should find a way to control early voting. If we can control one day, why can't we control 7 days? That's it.
How are you preparing for the upcoming elections? What steps are you taking to mobilize voters and engage with the residents of your district?
I'll tell you honestly, I'm engaging with the voters in coming election because I work with them every single day. I know their needs, I know their problems. I'm receiving numerous complaints. My office is receiving numerous complaints every single day. Sometimes we even work weekends. And I'm not doing it because, to win the election. I'm doing it because I really want to help the district. I want to help people who need my help. And I think this is kind of something that automatically wins you the election. So don't think about winning the election. Think about doing your job honestly. And you will win the election anyway, just because, people see what you do. So don't be a fake politician and you will win the election. As easy as that.
Thank you. The need to
What is being done to address the rising cost of housing in New York City? Are there any new initiatives to create more affordable housing or protect tenants from skyrocketing rents?
So, nothing much was done, unfortunately. Again, because we are... don't forget that we have a supermajority, Democratic supermajority in New York State Assembly. So any good ideas that we propose are being blocked by the Democratic supermajority. Republicans and conservatives. I believe there are too many obstacles. For example, I can give you a real example. For example, a friend of mine, he has a construction company, and he bought 2 pieces of land, 2 lots, where he wanted to build a building. And there was a Con Edison electric pole between the lands. So he needs to remove the pole to a different location nearby. So imagine how many months do you need to remove one electric pole and start building the building which is so needed in the area, in the district. Guess what? 2 years. 2 years to remove one electric pole. So how can we build? Look at Florida, look at Texas. Florida is building towns while we are building buildings. And this is the biggest problem, the obstacle that the city and state creates for private companies to build something. Once we will get rid of these obstacles, of this bureaucracy, we will build much more housing, including affordable housing. So this would be my answer.
New York City is known for its sanctuary city policies. How do you see the future of these policies, and what additional support is being provided to immigrant communities?
Well, the state spent $2.3 or $2.4 billion on migrants. It's more than we spend on our veterans. It's one of my followers on Facebook wrote when I was talking about migrant crisis. She wrote, "You know what? I want to be a migrant too, because they're receiving much more than the Americans." And this is a very sad truth. We have so many people in need, people who are citizens of this country, and we're not able to help them. So why in this world are we spending so much money on migrants? I'm an immigrant myself. I came from the former Soviet Union. My family came from the former Soviet Union. But we were not illegal migrants. We were legal immigrants. And our health was checked. Our background was checked. We didn't receive much help from the government. We somehow managed to found ourselves. We wasn't placed in hotels. We, somehow managed to find ourselves apartments and jobs. And those migrants don't want to do that. Also, don't forget that it was our dream to get to this country. It's not a dream for them. They're basically coming here to make, majority of them, to make some money and send the money back home or leave. So it's a constant flow of people who are just using us. Also, We have no idea who they are. Some of them are members of gangs. Some of them are members of terrorist organizations. We have absolutely no idea who these people are. Just recently, there was a study that in Midtown Manhattan, 75% of arrests are migrant arrests. When I heard that Governor Hochul wants to hire migrants to work for New York State, I thought, wow. So now we will have people without background checked, members of gang organizations, of terrorist organizations, working for the New York State. So I came out with the legislation that prohibits gang members and terrorist organizations members to be hired by the state. But guess what? The Democratic majority didn't even let this legislation to the floor to vote. It was blocked. So it's one of the biggest problems that we have. Another example, we asked the city of New York, if there are any migrant shelters in my district. They said no. And then we discovered so-called hidden secret shelter on East 18th Street and Warriors Avenue in a brand new sleep-in hotel. And my district needs hotels because a lot of people are coming here, a lot of relatives, a lot of people need a place to spend a night or two. And it's packed with migrants, so the regular constituents, they just cannot use these hotels. And there's so many complaints about the migrants being loud, about knocking the doors and asking for money, about driving mopeds and bikes without plates, which is like, if this bike hits you, you don't get any compensation because then I have insurance. No plates, no insurance. So there are many, many, many issues and problems with that. And the answer is very clear. Close the borders. It's very, very simple and clear. It's not as simple as it sounds to close the borders, but there should be a political willing to close the borders. And this is why I'm voting for Trump, and this is why I think any common sense person today would vote for Trump. I know a lot of people don't like Trump, don't like his personality. It's not a matter of liking him or disliking him. It's a matter of job done. And I think this man will make the job done. He will close the borders.
Homelessness continues to be a major issue in NYC. What initiatives are being pursued to provide both short-term and long-term solutions, particularly in addressing mental health services for the homeless?
For the homeless people.
That's a great question. So first of all, I think that I believe that 90% of homeless people need have mental health problems. So, creating those shelters. First of all, why are we creating shelters? Why are you building shelters in a nice, wealthy neighborhoods? Why we're, making the lives of these people problematic? Why we're dropping the cost of the houses in these neighborhoods? Ask any person if they want to have a homeless shelter next to their house. I doubt anyone would say yes. Absolutely not. So, first of all, I think those shelters have to be built in the industrial neighborhoods. Secondly, I strongly believe that shelters have to provide mental health. I understand it's not easy, it's not simple, but this is the only way to cure this problem. And we need to treat homeless people with respect, but at the same time, we have to understand these people are mentally sick. At least 90% of them. Maybe even more, maybe even 95. And we have to try to help these people, not just giving them temporary shelter for one night. We need to cure these people. We need to try to help these people, but not making other people's lives miserable when we are doing that. So we need a totally different approach to that problem other than the approach that we have right now. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It simply doesn't work.
Crime, particularly gun violence, has been a growing concern in NYC. What is your stance on gun control, and what measures are being taken at the state level to address the issue?
Let me tell you what. It's people who shoot, it's not guns. People shoot guns. Guns don't shoot by themselves. And, when we see those signs, let's say some areas of the city or like Times Square, no gun zone, I'm just laughing at it. Because who is this sign for? Who is this sign created for? For a person who has a legal weapon? Person who has a legal weapon, I don't think this person would walk with a legal weapon on the street, And legal weapons don't cause problems. It's illegal ones. But for illegal weapon carriers, illegal arms, this sign doesn't mean anything. They're carrying a illegal weapon anyway, or a illegal gun, whatever. So why they should follow any signs or any rules or any regulations? Signs, rules, and regulations are created for people who follow the rules. And the guns we have a problem with are owned by people who don't follow the rules.